Hey YouTube. So with the current situation with a lot of people working from home, I figured I'd do a quick rundown on my home networking situation. We have four people working in my family in our house right now. And prior to the coronavirus situation, we had upgraded our Ethernet or internet service to Gigabit Internet through Verizon Fios. So we got the new Verizon Fios home router, which is Wi-Fi 6 and capable up to 1 gigabit per second internet speeds, so almost 125 megabytes per second downloads and uploads. So I recently upgraded my room with Ethernet, so I went ahead and bought a 5-port 1 gigabit switch. Ran some cabling from where our router is in our den down to the basement, connected the switch down there, and then routed another cable up to my room. So I'll go through a little bit of that, show the increase in speeds from Wi-Fi versus the current Ethernet setup, and sort of go over why we upgraded in the first place. So we went from 200 megabit per second to gigabit per second, which has been night and day, 100 times better. Insane uploads and download speeds. It's honestly been really, really great. And now with the current situation, and we do have four people using the network, very limited bandwidth issues, so it's been really good. So here is the new Verizon home router capable of Wi-Fi 6 and Gigabit Ethernet. So we ran the Ethernet cable through the hole in the wall down into the basement. So now we are in my room, which is acting as my home office. See my computer. We have the Ethernet cable plugged in here and routed through the wall. That acts both for the TV and for any other cables. And then we have it routed through the wall, down through the floor, and into the basement. So that is where we came down through the floor in the closet, running over the ductwork through some of the pre-drilled holes that were there for some previous electrical work. And then there was no more area to put it through the beam, so I just routed it right along the bottom of the beams over some more ductwork and then down to our NAS area. So here we have our TP-Link 5-port 1 gigabit switch. So it's the TL-SG105, and that's what we're using. So we have data coming from our Fios router. This is the cable that we ran from my room, and then this is plugged into our NAS. So now we can take full advantage of our internet speeds. So we have 1 gigabit per second from Fios. Of course, that helps with internet speeds. And now that we're using straight over Ethernet, we don't have to worry about the limitations that Wi-Fi provides. So now we should be almost be able to see the full 1 gigabit per second downloading to the NAS over the network, which should be around 125 megabytes per second. We might see a little bit of losses just due to the speed limitations, but we should be able to get a lot more speed out of our NAS. So prior to running the Ethernet line, I ran a test using Wi-Fi alone. So my room is pretty far from the router and there's a lot of walls. So here's a quick test, copying over a couple gig file to our NAS. And as you can see, I'm speeding it up, but it's getting around maximum like 5-6 megabytes per second. And it's gonna take around 7.5 minutes. So I'll play this through and then we'll take a look at the actual internet speed test using Ukawa. Now, 6 minutes later, we finally finished our file transfer. I'm going to bring up the internet speed test and we'll see what kind of data speeds we're seeing over Wi-Fi. So decent ping, but we're maxing out at around 70 megabit per second. So even though we have gigabit per second service, we're not actually seeing that full internet speed over Wi-Fi. Of course, there's limitations, as there is with anything. The farther you are away from the router, the worse the internet is. And because we are so far away from the router, we're not using the 5G capabilities. We're only sitting at the 2.4 gigahertz channel, so it is much slower. So we're only seeing 76 megabit per second downloads and around 50 megabit per second uploads. So pretty slow and around 10 times less than what we should be seeing with gigabit. So now we have our Ethernet hooked up and we're going to do the same file transfer. So now you're seeing the full 1 gigabit per second internet speeds. So we're downloading to our NAS at around 110 to 120 megabyte per second. So almost that full 1 gigabit. When you're going from gigabit to megabyte, you're going to divide by 8. So we're going from 1000 megabit to around 125 megabytes. So now we're going to do our internet speed test. And here we see the same ping for the most part, but we're seeing our full 1 gigabit per second speed. So we're seeing 850 megabyte per second uploads or downloads, and we should be seeing similar uploads. So extremely fast download speeds will make for, downloading games, downloading movies, downloading anything really, really quick. And I've seen that when I'm doing my work. And now for upload speeds, again, extremely fast, 890 megabit per second. So uploading to the internet, you're almost hitting 100 megabyte per second, which will make uploads extremely quick. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop it a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel.